Hello, everybody. Welcome, and thank you for choosing to hang with the PodRats. I'm Brayden. Today I'm joined by Christian, Hunter, and Alex. And in today's episode, we will be reviewing episode 8 of The House of the Dragon. But before we get into our review, you can go ahead and follow us on our socials on Twitter at @the_PodRats and on Instagram at the PodRats. You can also listen to these episodes on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and Amazon Music, and watch us on YouTube. Now that I got all of the plugs out the way, let's go ahead and get into our discussion of this week's episode, The Lord of the Tides.
Tomorrow the High Towers land their first blow.
Those vipers rule in my father's name.
To King's Landing, then.
So this episode was directed by Geeta Patel, and it features our last time jump of season 1. We learn as we're watching that it is a 6-year time jump from episode 7. So we get a couple actor changes in there for the kids specifically. And we'll probably talk about that a little bit later on in the episode. But I just want to jump right into it, guys, and talk about Paddy fucking Considine. In this episode, he's brought it all season long, but in this episode specifically, he just did an amazing job. We joked about it last episode. I don't know if you guys remember that that Viserys would just come back in this episode looking like the worm from SpongeBob. And he kind of did.
He kind of did.
We're kind of right on that one. But no, yeah, he's amazing. I feel like episode 8 will definitely be HBO's like submission and for like Paddy's Emmy nomination, just for what he did in this episode alone. Just the way he's able to make you feel so sorry for him, and like the way he's able to portray his fragility and just his love for his family. He's just done a really great job. I just wanted to highlight him to start off.
Yeah, no, and I am glad that they kind of gave him this episode as like a send-off tribute sort of episode. Yeah, every single scene that he was in, which was quite literally almost every single one of them, which is good. Not complaining about it. But yeah, I mean, he's just like commanding the attention of the scene. He was great in this episode. I mean, he's been great in all of them, but this one specifically, yeah, it was really nice to see him get like so much love. And I saw a lot of people, giving him love on Twitter and everything too. But yeah, really just makes you feel kind of those emotions that they want you to feel, which is just, yeah, like you feel sorry for him for being like, he's just too human to be king, man.
He's definitely the most morally like sound person in this whole show. And I feel like this episode really highlights that, just how he wanted to bring everyone that he loves together when they're having dinner and stuff. And that just to put their differences aside and have a nice meal together.
He just wants everyone to get along.
He's the most wholesome man in this show.
I feel like we also see the most character development from Paddy in this show. Like from Viserys in general. There was just so much going on, so much to talk about. He was amazing from beginning to end, and you watch him kind of evolve even through this episode as compared to the other ones in the season.
Yeah, and in like that dinner scene, just to skip forward in the episode, even though Viserys is like at his weakest, it's kind of the first time we really see him put his foot down and say, hey, I need you all to get along. Yeah. And if you're not going to get along just for each other's sake, get along for me. And that was something we haven't seen from him as something like he's done as firmly before until now.
The scene where he walks into the throne room, I wanted to just clap and cheer the whole time he was making his slow walk to the throne. Just watching Alicent and Otto's faces when they saw him come through those doors was fucking awesome.
The music was really good in that.
Yeah, no, the music was great. I pointed that out too. Also pretty cool at the very end when he makes his way to the throne and then he leans over and his crown fell off. I saw that actually was not planned.
Yeah, that was circling around Twitter.
Yeah, that was not planned. And Matt Smith just kind of improv'd and put his crown back on him. But I thought it fit really well into that scene. And it also kind of shows you that Damon's kind of evolved over these 6 years too. He's kind of settled down almost. Not as big of a douchebag.
No, I feel like that was almost like a tear-jerking moment.
Mm-hmm.
For that to be accidental. Like, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, because I love that part, because I pointed out that part too when I was watching it, and I was like, man, that just tells you a lot about how far they've come, in their relationship because I think Damon's finally realizing that this is his brother at the end of the day. And even though they don't see eye to eye on just about anything, he's still, he's seeing him kind of just fade away, in front of him. So he's realizing all the time that he's missed. And I feel like he's just, he's kind of got some sympathy for him.
Definitely. You saw that the first time you saw him laying in the bed.
Yeah.
He had a look like, oh my God, like this is bad.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's probably going to die. And then, I mean, anytime you are about to lose a sibling like that, it's got to be hard.
I feel like Daemon is the other character that really went through a lot of character development this episode. He completely changed from being the douchebag that he was in the previous episodes to more of a father type figure for, I mean, I don't know if father figure is the right term, but for his, standing up for his wife, standing up for his kids and his kids' claim to the Driftwood, the Driftwood throne.
Yeah, he has more to defend now, I feel like, than he ever has, because I don't feel like he ever felt truly loyal to anybody before Rhaenyra. And now that he has Rhaenyra, I feel like he's going to protect her at all costs, because this is kind of his end game.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, I think he's finally kind of settled into where he wants to be. I think he's kind of content with where he is right now. So he's kind of doing everything he can to protect that at this moment.
Yeah, I think we especially see Daemon defending what he now has when he lets Vaemond keep his tongue.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
That was one of the, maybe it's just like recency bias, but I can't remember a time in the Game of Thrones shows where I was just like physically gasped at a moment. I did not see that coming at all.
Yeah, it's definitely unpredictable because like most like Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon deaths, like, you kind of like expect them to, when they're about to happen. But that one was just so abrupt and out of nowhere. And it was just so like, it was just so shocking in the moment.
We can't show this on our YouTube, but I went back and replayed that exact moment when he does cut off half of Vaemond's head. And the way they had it with the CGI is they cut off his head, and then the locks of his hair were also cut off. So the locks of his hair got cut off in two pieces.
Oh, nice.
It looked really gnarly. I don't know why I noticed that, but that was
good job, CGI workers.
It's really nasty, man.
Yeah, it was something.
I loved it, man. I was just waiting for someone to get fucking murked.
Yeah, Daemon was kind of egging him on to, give him a reason to. He was kind of sitting there. Daemon's not one for the politics of everything, so he was just kind of chilling, waiting for some shit to go. And he saw the opportunity, so he just started egging it on.
Hey, he kind of warned him.
He did.
He said, say it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure what Vaemond was thinking was going to happen. Man, he probably wasn't thinking at all. He was just
very passionate,
wanting to say what he thought is the right thing. He just wanted to get it out
very
there.
Emotional. Wants to keep his family, pure and everything.
I think that up to this point, we haven't really seen Viserys be territorial. Like he hasn't put his foot down on anything, and even here, he doesn't put his foot down. It's Daemon that ultimately, kills Vaemond.
Vaemond. Yeah, I mean,
Vaemond.
The only time we really see Viserys in the show, be, any sort of upset is when it has to do with Rhaenyra. It kind of seems like when he's on the throne, the only thing that really kind of triggers him and sends him over the edge throughout the entire show is Rhaenyra. Anytime, people have said some dumb shit about her, or just, that's just the only times that I can think of, unless I'm wrong.
No, yeah, like even in this episode, I feel like a majority of the reason he decides to come in during the hearing is for Rhaenyra.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, and I think he sees a lot of what was his first wife's name? Emma?
Emma, yeah.
Yeah, and I think he sees a lot of Emma in Rhaenyra. I think that he looks at Rhaenyra as kind of his one true child, because throughout the show also we haven't really seen him make much of any sort of effort with his, younger kids that he has with Alicent. I think that Rhaenyra is kind of his baby in his eyes, and he still does everything that he can, even though he's so old. He still does everything that he can to, kind of protect her.
Yeah, and I mean, him showing up like he did, that just kind of proves that he does still support Rhaenyra, like what he said all them years ago about her being heir. And
Yeah.
she told him, she was like, hey, if you still like support me, I need you. And
He showed up
he did. He showed up
very slowly, very emotionally, very dramatically,
at the shock of everyone.
but he definitely showed up.
Yeah. Not for very long, but he said a few words. He did his job, and then he croaked. But not dead, just croaked.
Yeah, no.
He croaked a few times in this episode.
So, talking about Viserys croaking, that final speech that he gives at the dinner, that was touching. Seeing all sides of the family there, and he just wants to unite them. Because, through 8 episodes, we've just seen strife. There has just been conflict on conflict between the kids, between the parents, and there's really no letting up on it. And it was nice to see Viserys recognize it for once and try and put in his way a stop to it and try and make amends. And then afterwards, you see Rhaenyra give her speech, and people start to lighten up a little bit. And that was a very touching part of this episode. And it's nice to see these characters have some humanity. It's not always hatred. Rhaenyra and Alicent had that friendship before everything went to shit. And it's nice to see that that's still there.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing about most of these characters in the show that we have is most of them don't overtly just hate each other or have dislike for each other. I think most of them are just, political adversaries. So they just have differing interests in, what they want personally. So I thought that was a nice part of the show that we got. Now we probably won't ever get it again, but I thought it was nice that, Viserys has come to kind of accept that his death is coming and there's nothing preventing it. And he's just, on dwindling days. And the one thing that he just wanted to see before he went was everyone that he loves just all for 10 seconds, just get along and have a good time.
Yeah, it was nice to see that, or it's nice to think that Viserys' last few moments that he sees his family as they're all getting along.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as soon as he leaves, that immediately goes to shit. And surprisingly enough, it's the kids that once again started. You're kind of seeing the consequences of the parents reaping hate into, or sowing hate rather, into the younger generations. And I feel like that might be a plot point going forward. And I hope not, but I have a bad feeling that that's probably one of the last happy scenes that we'll get in this show.
That's what I figured. I figured that was kind of a little send away of, the one last happy thing before we kind of just go into despair for the inevitable future.
Yeah. I don't want to, say Alicent's a bad mom or anything, but Aegon's kind of a bitch.
Aegon is kind of a bitch. He's kind of a little spoiled brat.
Like, all of the conflict that happens between the kids, all is kind of sparked by Aegon. Like, he kind of starts it all. He starts picking on Luke, and is that Luke? Or did he start picking on Jace?
Jace.
Yeah, he started picking on Jace and saying he wasn't going to be able to perform.
Yeah, and Jace was kind of keeping his cool as well.
No, he was very cool.
He was kind of being respectful. He was like, hey, I don't mind you shooting the shit with me, but don't talk about my betrothed. So, he was trying to keep his cool, but, Aegon just kept pushing him.
Yeah. And I mean, from a parenting perspective, when you look at that, you're like, okay, Rhaenyra's kind of raising these kids to be a little better of.
Yeah, I think
people.
Rhaenyra's kids just aren't spoiled.
Yeah.
They kind of just, I don't know. They're just much more humble, it seems.
It's that Joffrey Baratheon effect, where when that kid, you give the kid unlimited power in King's Landing, they turn into a spoiled brat.
True.
Yeah.
They get raised in the royal family,
or they turn into Aemond and they become an absolute
Giga Chad.
Yeah.
Prodigy with a sword.
That's something that I loved in this episode, is how Aegon, when they were younger, was the alpha child. And now Aemond has just overtaken him, and Aemond is just this, doesn't speak very often, just sits there with his eye patch and his sick hair.
Dude, it really showed that in this one, because Aegon kind of had this, like, it's kind of like his not training habits and everything.
Yeah.
He looks a little
Like out of shape.
not necessarily fit. Yeah, he's out of shape. And when you show Aegon, not Aegon, Aemond. When you show Aemond, like, dude, he is fit as fuck. He was beating the shit out of Sir Kristen Cole.
Yeah, it kind of seems like Aegon is still kind of holding on to like the childhood, dynamic that they all had, where he, I'm going to bully all of you kids. But Aemond, it seems, has kind of grown out of that and is kind of just existing, except when he gets set off because, they put the pig in front of him, and then he gets reminded of the pink dread's dilemma. But
for him being the youngest, though, he seems the most mature.
Yes,
of all
definitely.
Of them.
Yeah, he definitely does.
He's the best fighter, probably, that we've seen in the show so far.
Yeah, it seems like he's kind of taking it more seriously.
Yeah,
He's just a little mini Daemon.
Yes, and I think that was cool to see too, is like that moment where Daemon kind of steps in front of Aemon, and Daemon is looking at him, and he's just like,
Buddy, you think you look strong? You're wearing a cape. You're just a cheap fucking knockoff.
hey, he kind of looks like me, and he's also acting exactly how I acted when I was young. So he kind of had a little respect for him in that moment. I thought that was really cool to see as well.
Yeah. I mean, when you think of who they have shown beat who in hand-to-hand combat, they saw Sir Kristen Cole beat Daemon, and then they show Aemond beating Sir Kristen Cole. So it's kind of like they're showing us that Aemond might be the biggest badass we've seen in hand-to-hand combat in this show.
But just think about it. Aemond has no depth perception.
He doesn't.
That is true.
He's only got one eye.
That is true. It could
might be a
seriously affect his fighting skills.
Not only is he possibly the best in hand-to-hand combat, he also has the biggest dragon.
Yeah, it seems like Aemon is going to be a quite the character, especially in the like ongoing seasons when the kids become a pretty big focus. Mm-hmm. It seems like Aemon is going to be a pretty big player in the show.
Yeah, a real heavy hitter.
Yes, because he's so talented, with his combat, and also he's just got an absolute behemoth of a dragon. So
Yeah.
See, I feel like part of that too is you're seeing who understands the claim to the throne and how it's going to be challenged. Aemond really wants that position, and Aegon has showed multiple times that he doesn't want that claim.
No, yeah.
yeah,
So I think this is Aemond, trying to fill that role early and show, declare dominance against Rhaenyra's kids and to Rhaenyra. And
yeah, because Aegon in this episode says that that he didn't really ever want to be born into all this. So
Yeah.
I feel like after he took Vhagar, man, he
seriously
knows true power now.
seriously boosted his confidence
It
getting
really
that.
did. Speaking of dragons, we see in this episode Daemon goes and gets 3 eggs from Syrax. So we can assume that those 3 eggs are going to be for him and Rhaenyra's, 2 born kids and 1 unborn child. They'll probably go to them.
Quite the convenient hatchling of eggs there, huh?
3 eggs and 3 children.
Hey.
That is quite the nice little surprise.
I wonder how big Syrax is now.
Yeah, we haven't seen him in a while.
Yeah.
Well, Rhaenyra did say she'll return on Dragonback.
Yeah, we'll see.
A little double
Syrax
meaning
will come
there
up.
that we'll probably see. She said it in goodwill,
Yeah.
but got a feeling.
But
she'll
that
return, but
Probably
not
won't
goodwill.
happen.
Yeah.
She said, "Oh yeah, I'll come back and we'll catch up a little more." But yeah, that probably won't happen. So
Yeah, no, she'll return on Dragonback. All right, though.
yeah.
That conversation that they had, I couldn't get a read on whether they were still being genuine or if Alicent was maybe playing her a little bit.
Yeah.
I think they were being genuine in that moment. I think the only time that Alicent all of a sudden has conflict is later on, because Alicent, after that talk with Viserys, doesn't seem like she wants any more conflict. I mean, this whole thing, I think Otto is the one pushing this on her. He has been all along. And Alicent wants her kid's claim, right? But ultimately she wants her family's safety too. So
Yeah, I think Allison's just very family oriented, and yeah, I think she's just. I don't really think I talked about it a couple times in our podcast, but I don't really think that she has this like hatred for Rhaenyra, and that scene with them, giving their little speeches to each other. It was kind of hard to get a read on it though, of like, are they just doing this for Viserys in his final moments, or are they actually doing this to like get stuff off their chest for once?
I definitely felt like that moment was genuine, but the last conversation they have, and after the kids fight and everything,
the last conversation,
and she's like, "You're leaving already? Like you have to come back." And it's just kind of like, why does she have to come back, Alicent? But I don't know. She's gonna have to come back now because, as we see at the end of the episode, Viserys finally does bite the dust.
R.I.P.
Man, I was cringing that whole time after Viserys starts unveiling the Song of Ice and Fire.
Master plan.
Yeah. And then, I mean, you can just tell once Viserys says Aegon that Alicent doesn't understand what he meant. And now I think Alicent...
Not that Aegon.
Right, yeah. So now Alicent thinks that Aegon is supposed to take the throne, and here's where we see the fight for the throne.
Yeah, that was the one thing that I'm not sure if I loved about this episode, is that this whole thing will get sparked just based off of something that Alicent just hears that she's not supposed to hear.
Misunderstood.
And it's just like the rabblings of someone who's about to die.
A dementia old man.
But you can view that in one of two ways. You can view it as how this conflict might spark just because Viserys said that, or when we're talking about Alicent, either Alicent is just picking and choosing what she wants to hear, and she like knows that, yeah, Viserys isn't really talking to her, and she knows that, and I feel like she might be smart enough to know that. But also, this is actually what she really wants, and this just gives her an avenue.
Gives her an in.
Yes.
Into what she wants.
To actually push Aegon to ascend the Iron Throne. So you can view it one of two ways, and I feel like as the season progresses and as we go into other seasons, it might justify that a little bit more. Maybe, maybe not. But yeah, that was the one thing I wasn't too sure about.
I feel like Alicent is a very complicated character, and in this moment, she is only trying to fulfill Viserys' wishes, and that she truly thinks that he meant young Aegon, his son. Because this whole night, Viserys wasn't on Milk of the Poppy. He's trying to stay coherent, and he's trying to give his last will. And he hasn't said anything about, Rhaenyra's claim to the throne. So this is that moment when Alicent, hears this for the first time and understands in her mind that this is what Viserys wants, even though it isn't really. So I think she has internal conflict, but I don't know. It's tough. She's got those are her kids.
Yeah, it also could mean a lot to her just because, like I mentioned earlier, Viserys has never really acknowledged or like talked about his kids, with high praise or anything. His kids with Alicent. And Alicent could take this as, like in his final moments. Oh, he finally came around and is
right.
Look how much high praise he's giving. He's changed his mind.
Yeah.
So
no, I agree with Brayden on this though. Like, I don't really like that that's how this is all going to be rooted. Like, it's all going to root from this end of life speech that he just is mumbling out.
I think one thing you could really pinpoint, if you want to think about Alicent's motivations, is that he does say at one specific point in that it has to be her, or that it's her that is going to reunite the realm. And we've talked about earlier in previous reviews with Alicent, and we get it in this episode too, where she's very self-righteous, and we get that even with her repurposing the Red Keep with images of the Seven. And now I feel like that's just another avenue for her to feel righteous. And then when Viserys says, hey, it has to be you that reunites the realm, that's another way for her to feel more self-righteous. So I feel like it might also just add into that as well.
Yeah.
I definitely agree. This is going to be a big catalyst for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I'm excited. I have no clue how it's going to play out, where it's going to play out, like what's going to happen. Like it's wide open right now.
Guess you'll have to tune in next week.
Yeah. We got 2 episodes left?
They're 10? I don't know how many there are.
9 and 10. That's 2. Yeah.
10?
9 and 10.
Math.
Doing math with the PodRats yet again.
Yet again. Always.
We didn't
Keep your mind sharp.
We didn't make a cameo this episode, or did we? We could have been somewhere in there.
I didn't see any rats this episode.
We're in the background somewhere. You know,
Yeah,
there's rats in the Red Keep.
There were probably some rats crawling out of Viserys' eye.
That's just rude. Kind of messed
You're
up.
right. He didn't deserve that.
Kind of messed up.
Sorry, Viserys.
So to clear up the kids a little bit, there is some rumblings on social media about how Aemond looks way older than Aegon.
He does.
But a little fun fact: Aemond's actor is 20. Aegon's actor is 27.
Aemond does not look 20.
Wow.
Yeah,
He looks like a grown man.
He's tall.
he's younger than the PodRats.
He's younger than the PodRats.
And Aegon's older actor and younger actor played the same character in 2019's Tolkien. Like the younger Aegon actor played a younger character.
Oh, I know
Like
what you mean.
he played the same character as.
Oh, so they have chemistry together before.
They've played younger and older before.
Oh,
That's interesting.
Wow.
Yeah. And also, I'm not sure if the ages of these kids are really set, but going by the time jumps here, Aegon is about 21 or 22. Aemond would be about 18.
Mm-hmm.
Helena's in the middle in there somewhere. Jace is 17 at the most. And then Luke, I believe, is probably like 15, 14, something like that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. There's a lot of when we get into the kids, it's very confusing because you have Jace, and Jace is marrying Baela, and Luke is marrying Rhaenyra. Baela and Rhaenyra are twins, and they're
Yeah.
kids of
Technically,
Daemon.
stepsisters, right?
But no,
Technically,
Baela and Rhaenyra.
no.
Oh,
Jace and Luke are
Yes.
technically stepbrothers of
Oh,
Baela
yes.
and Rhaenyra.
yes,
Yes.
It's all muddled up when you get into incest.
Yeah.
It is. It's very hard to understand the great aunts and uncles and brothers and
Yeah, the casual fans will get very confused very quickly. Like
Brayden
I
sent
said
a
before.
fantastic meme
Yeah.
today of the family dynamic of
Yes.
Baela and
yes.
Viserys.
Aegon is literally, he looks like Alicent, but with blonde hair.
He does actually look a lot like Alicent. It's good casting.
It was a very good casting. Like when they first showed him, when he was butt-ass naked, I was like, damn. I was like, that's just a spitting image of Alicent right there.
That's a different actor, though. What are you talking about in this episode? Dude, I'm all over the place.
Talking about Aegon in this
Yeah.
episode, naked.
Okay,
in
there's
his
been
bed.
multiple occurrences where he's butt-ass
That's
naked.
true.
He's
That's
pretty
true.
So it was a
naked.
bit confusing.
Yeah,
I'm
he's
sorry.
usually naked.
Well, it was right after I don't know if she gave her poison or birth control or whatever.
I believe that was Moon Tea that she gave her.
Okay, thank you, Brayden. What does that do?
It's
You don't know about the moon tea?
It's what Rhaenyra got.
It's what you're drinking over there, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
So it's the plan B.
Yeah, it's what Rhaenyra had in episode 6, 5.
4, maybe 6.
I don't know.
Somewhere in there.
Just by the way Alicent reacts to that, I felt like it may have been.
I also thought that she might have been fucking murking on her or something.
Yeah, I thought it might have been poison. Or
I thought so
something.
at the beginning. Yeah.
Because she was making that dramatic face.
Yeah.
Is she doing it on the screen right behind me?
No, it's
No.
just Aegon's butthole. Is just,
Oh, okay, yeah. It's Aegon being
Why are you looking?
butt ass naked.
well, it's the focus of the picture, man.
Why are you looking?
All right. Well, I think that about wraps up this week's episode of House of the Dragon. We'll be back next week to talk about episode 9. And until then, put yourself first and take care of each other. Bye, guys.